Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Ricochet Community Call number 11. We got some cool stuff to talk about today, so let's get into it. All right, so here's our agenda. We're going to start off talking about the DAO and different proposals and discussions around those that happened over the last 2 weeks. We're then going to go into some business updates, talk about CI/CD updates from Mike, and then Ricochet V2 progress, and finally go into the numbers and all the changes that occurred in our Rex markets and our kind of volume and prices and all that kind of good stuff over the last 2 weeks. All right, so to start off talking about our DAO and all the kind of discussion that happened around these proposals, the first one I'm going to touch on is the subsidy extension proposal put forth by Fran, co-founder of Superfluid. His proposal aimed to, so since Ricochet subsidies in the Rex markets ended yesterday on the 10th, his proposal was to add some kind of extension to those, and he offered various amount rates that you could elect, that you could choose from and vote on. Ultimately, the community rallied behind Mike's idea that it would be best to not let those rewards continue, and we could get like that valuable insight as to where volume is without these kinds of subsidies, and so kind of get that true business outlook as to where these subsidies and where this volume stands without kind of that RIC subsidy influence. So we're starting to see that already, and I think that's a valuable kind of insight to have. And so I'm glad we passed with that without that kind of subsidy extension. We also added 6 new RexForce comrades. I don't know if we should keep calling them comrades, but I just threw that into the slide. We added 6 new members, which is pretty cool. And yeah, and then I'll turn it over to Mike to talk about the buyback. The buyback
It might be 7. I think it might be 7 because I merged the pull request for a first-time contributor this morning, so that might be 7.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I put an alternative proposal, and Fran and I had discussions about this, and I told him that his proposal wouldn't pass, and he just went ahead and did it anyway. But yeah, so the proposal that I put forth was, I just didn't want to see subsidies renewed because I wanted to get a good sense of like what the actual volume is, like who's actually using the app. And we've done this 2 other times where we let subsidies run out, and it's really valuable just to see like each iteration, like is there more volume or not. So and then how much more volume, because it's actually been growing pretty significantly. So so the alternative proposal that I put forth was, well, in this period that we don't have any RIC going out the door through subsidies, what I'd like to do is, well, take some of what we earned in version 1 from fees and use that to use our own product, our own Rex markets, to create a stream buyback for the DAO. And I don't want to buy back and redistribute that. And I'm not interested in, sort of buying back and burning it. This isn't going to be like X sushi or whatever. But instead, what I'd like to do is just buy this back off the open market, keep it on the market. But I think there's this illusion people have that liquidity is just a measure of what's in the liquidity pool, but that's actually a false assumption, because liquidity, there's a lot more liquidity out there. You just need to look. Like funds that are available on money markets are available for liquidity, and most of the people that are borrowing are most likely already using that borrowed money for liquidity one way or another. So the buyback program here is going to take RIC off the market, but still it's going to take it out of the liquidity pool, and it will put it into the rexBank contract where it can be borrowed. The reason you might want to borrow is ahead of a governance vote. You may want to borrow. If you're unwilling to actually purchase the RIC, you can borrow it. You can also borrow governance power without impacting the price on the exchange. And then also people will use it to speculate to the downside, because you can borrow RIC against dollars, sell that RIC for dollars, and then buy it back lower, or not, or just get wrecked. But that's you. So what it's really doing is, like, it's my take. This proposal is my take on protocol owned liquidity. By buying these tokens off the secondary market and putting them in the rexBank, we own that liquidity, and people who want to access that liquidity can access it for a fee, the interest rate plus the origination fee. So yeah, it's mostly about 2 things. It's about testing out that this method of buybacks works. You can set it up really quickly and let it run. and then also just kind of creating, more liquidity using alternative approaches. Do we have a question?
Yeah. Hey, the
Yeah, go ahead.
initial reason why, from what I initial reason that like Olympus DAO set up protocol owned liquidity was to take away pool to people from dumping on each other. Because that was like a sort of toxic aspect of the community that they didn't want to cultivate. And so they were like, well, the protocol, this is good for the protocol, so let's internalize it and make it part of our own treasury. I'm curious, like, I understand the part about giving and like borrowing and lending in terms of Rick. What's our incentive as like a protocol, or Ricochet's incentive as a protocol to do that, as opposed to just leaving that in like a liquidity pool? Is it just like building out those functions so people can lend and borrow with like the extension of being able to use it as a governance token and the other things you just mentioned, or is there another angle there?
Yeah, I mean, the incentive to borrow is to either, like I said, you either get some more governance power ahead of a vote, or you can short sell. Maybe there's another reason to borrow, but both of the reasons that someone would do that would be they'd be paying the DAO. So they would pay, presumably the other bank has a 1% origination fee plus 12% annual interest. So it would probably be the same or more to borrow Rick. So yeah, for the protocol, like anyone who wants to do that kind of either of those two actions has to pay the DAO a fee to do it, right? So that's sort of the incentive. Yeah, and like liquidity, the people in the liquidity pool get the worst deal. Like, I'm sorry, but like if there were funds in the liquidity pool, like you're just losing your Rick, right? The price of Rick is just going to go up, and you're just going to get wrecked. Like comparatively, like you're not going to make as much as if you were just holding your Rick. So like I don't think that putting funds into a liquidity pool is necessarily a good idea. Which is why we haven't done that, and we haven't incentive, which is why I haven't motioned to do that or motioned to incentivize that, because I don't think it's good. Also, side note, anyone streaming into the ETH USDC liquidity pool, that liquidity pool is getting wrecked too. So I would maybe stop streaming into that, just because it's not a problem with the system, it's a problem with the LP tokens that you get. The LP tokens lose their value because of all this movement. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. Definitely not trying to do whatever Olympus DAO is doing, because it all seems like a bunch of anons doing something suspect. And I don't know. I mean, do whatever you want, but I don't think it's a good idea to hold all of your own liquidity. Yeah, Shimei, did you have a question?
Yeah, hello.
Hey.
Yeah, am I audible properly?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, so I was just going through the proposal again, and the second point that is create another using USDC as collateral. So what is going to happen with this USDC? I mean, are you going to use it again for the other bank that is
no, it's collateral. You can't use collateral for anything other than collateral. Like it's being used. Right. It's being used as collateral, so nothing happens to it. It just sits there.
Yeah, so I was thinking, I mean, right, that's a good thing. So that was better. But I think we can lend this USDC out to Aave, I guess. So that's how you can get more interest back. And as soon as someone, let's say, wants their USDC collateral back, we can just call a function from Aave, because they will return it to you, right? That's the thing. I mean, do you get my point?
That's a feature someone can add. We don't have that today, but yeah, there's no reason you couldn't do that.
Yep, good. Yeah, that's it.
We could just accept AUSD as collateral and just have an AUSD price, which is whatever. And I think that would work fine. I don't know actually if that would, because the yield would accrue to the protocol, to the bank, not to the depositor. But nonetheless, like I don't necessarily like that, like wrapping protocols inside of protocols, because like, well, what if Aave has a problem, and then as a side effect of Aave having a problem, our collateral is all gone or anything like that. So I'd rather just see it kept as like USDC and just sort of sit there. I'm not really this like I'm not so quick to just like increase the capital efficiency of things to the point where there no longer is money in your protocol and it's now in someone else's protocol. So I think just USDC sits as there as collateral. If someone wants to come through and do an improvement to say that when you deposit the USDC, it turns into Aave USDC, or just make a bank that has Aave USDC. That's appropriate. I didn't think to do that. So
Cool. Yeah, because I did a similar thing, right? Lending out to USDC. Sorry, lending out to Aave using USDC, and it was part of my somewhat, like, you can call it a game. But yeah, that was a smooth feature. It's not really that hard to implement. It would just involve maybe 2 or 3 functions. So if you think that's a good thing, okay, fine. But I think you are not really in favor.
it's
so
just
no
like,
problem. Yeah.
yeah, it's like wrapping in another protocol, and then it could get lost. So very like risk averse, like all the risk is on like the liquidity provider. So in this case, the DAO. So anyway, that's enough of that. You want to go to the next thing, Sonny? Any other questions?
All right. All right, so let's talk about some business development stuff. Can you guys still hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so first thing, DeFi Whiskey reached out from CoinShift. He's interested in doing a AMA with Ricochet, Superfluid, and CoinShift. That'll be happening this Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll be out there talking about how Ricochet can be used to basically, make treasury investment more efficient, alongside with, how Superfluid is implemented there for payroll and all that kind of good Superfluid treasury stuff and real-time finance, along with real-time investing, how that kind of fits into the whole kind of treasury management scheme. So be there. It'll be interesting talk. I'm sure there'll be some good turnout, and yeah, it'll be on our first Twitter Spaces. So come show some support. It'd be appreciated. The next thing is, we did put out a new Medium article talking about how Ricochet Exchange can be used for dollar cost averaging and the overall benefits of DCA as a investment strategy. This was actually put together by Satvik, who was just speaking, me, Chas.ep, and Anthony. So it was a really good kind of collaboration there between the 4 of us, just working on that kind of on this Medium article, and we came out with a really good article. So if you want to learn more about DCA and how Ricochet Exchange makes it, supercharges it, it's definitely a great read, because most of us think of Ricochet as a way to do really efficient and supercharged DCA. The last thing here is I did put out a survey talking about gauging the interest in several new DeFi tokens, and so it appeared that the community was pretty interested in Aave, Sushi.
Sonny, we're losing you. It's breaking up.
How bad am I breaking up?
It got pretty bad. It got pretty bad that like last minute.
Okay.
Better now. Go ahead. Try again.
All right. Interesting. All right. Yeah. So I put out this survey. It's basically it was gauging the interest in several DeFi tokens. Of those, it seems Aave, Sushi, and Curve were pretty high up, along with the input token for those being USDC. So that's just kind of like me gauging the community. I may like propose those down the line after V2. And yeah, I think one thing that kind of came up in that discussion was, why don't we offer like DPI, which is basically a kind of like an index token, which kind of derives from the prices of a bunch of these kind of major DeFi tokens. And I think that will come down the line. Again, like I'll probably propose that after V2, so that we don't have like kind of a redundancy in our kind of offering there. So yeah, that's it for business. I'm going to turn over to Mike to talk about CI/CD.
Yeah, so this is something that I've had available to me in other apps that I've worked on, which is a environment per pull request system. So what Samir, one of our new contributors, has been working on very diligently is creating a system whereby when a new branch is opened into the front end repository, it will create a link that you can view that feature at, right? So the link is kind of like an Amazon.com link, because we use Amazon to host these little branches. But the advantage to doing this is that the QA process of some of this stuff is challenging, because it's not that many of us looking at it. And I guarantee more people would look at it if it was easier. To QA something right now is a little complicated because you need to know how to get their code in GitHub. We use a forking strategy, so you have to get their code from their forked repo. And so it's a bunch of extra steps. And then, of course, you need to know how to run the app, which is not that bad, but it's still some coding. So this lets us do QA without code on the front end. So every time someone creates a new front end feature, it'll create a URL that you can go to, and you can use the app with that feature already implemented. You can make sure that it works without writing any code. So that's sort of the reason to do this. Is now, QA is very easy. Everyone's looking at the same link. You just check that works, and then it's good to go. And then we can put it out. So yeah, that also lets us test everything sort of individually, and then it's fine. So, and yeah, so eventually we'll do this on other repos with other processes for CI and CD, but this was the first one. I think this was the most needed. It was just like, okay, let's make it super easy for people to QA. And then of course, follow up to this, we got to make like some kind of QA incentive. I don't know what the best way to do that yet is, but make it so that people can do that who are non-technical but understand. To be QA, all you need to do is you need to understand how to use the app. You shouldn't need to know how to code, is really the point here. That's the advantage of this. And then the other advantage is, like, now we have someone in the community that knows how to do GitHub Actions, familiar with building, testing, deploying, notifying, monitoring. And so, this was our first cut at GitHub Actions. And so now what we'll have is, we'll be able to do more GitHub Actions in other repositories we have to help us with some of the development operations workload. So yeah, there were other maybe developments. We originally had this slide as like all the app updates, but I think this was the biggest one. I'm sure there were some other miscellaneous updates, or not. Maybe that's why the slide was blank before I got it. So yeah, that's I guess all I have to say here. And yes, it's only for the front end repo, and I don't know. I mean, this concept of like deploying a separate feature, like a separate URL for each pull request, is really, I think, only advantageous on applications that have a front end. But on the Solidity code, our protocol repo, we'll have other things that we want to run. We'll want to run linter. We'll want to run the tests, and then there might be some follow-up things that we want to run as well. But so eventually, like our pull, this is an image of what it looks like on the pull request page. You see there's this, green checkbox that says that basically is telling you that the environment was created successfully, and you can now access it on that URL. So in the future, we'll probably start seeing these checks show up in other repos as well. So that's all I have for that. I don't think we need to take questions. We can just go to the next thing.
Cool. All right, there's an update on Ricochet V2.
Yeah, great. So this the version 2 project in GitHub is something anyone can. And I mean, for the most part, a lot of the things that we set out to do are done, or close to being done. Once we get towards the end here, everything is kind of conflicting with themselves. But generally, what we've done is, what we've completed is moving all of the code to this new architecture, which is this like kind of extendable, object-oriented approach that kind of lets you create markets, and some of the base functionality is encapsulated in a base contract. So the moving of everything over has worked. And in addition to moving it over, the two existing markets we have, the one-way market, which is what you're all familiar with, going USD to ETH, and then the sushi farm market, which is the streaming into a sushi swap position. Those two have been tested with the basic test. Like, can two people open a stream, and does it correctly distribute back? That's the test that we have running. There's still some other tests that we need to do, like, for example, making sure that the close works in emergency close works, and some other things. But so that most of that's written, and what we're doing now is basically going through and just refactoring our tests. You can see this is like the top of the list of stuff going on. We're refactoring the tests in the protocol to use TypeScript. TypeScript's a lot better. It catches a lot of things because it's statically typed. We're also the finishing up the testing and debugging. I was able to get the code complete. I was able to get tests running. The one test that, does the accounting is passing. And so the cleanup for the other tests, I'm sort of leaving to, the other people working on this. And then, yeah, in addition to that, we also have this referral system. We have our referral system contract built. We have our referral system front end built. And now it's just a matter of, with these contracts, going back through and integrating in to use the referral system. Things that are still sort of untouched in version 2 is started with the Rex trade. I think there's code out there, and I think Sheree is taking a look at the back end piece, but we'll still have to put a Rex trade on the front end, and that's just so that people can swap super token to super token. It's nothing really that fancy there. It's just a matter of like, you downgrade the token and then swap it and then upgrade the token. But it would be nice for people. I'm sure everyone's done this, where you have to like downgrade your super tokens and go to SushiSwap. It'd be nicer if we just had a way for you in the app to just do the swap super token to super token. So that's what that's about. Using the IDA to distribute fees, that is part of the referral system. So going through and refactoring how fees are being distributed is a requirement for the referral system. So that will be sort of the next thing that I look at, is this IDA to distribute fees. And then we still have the interactive stream manager. I was following conversation in there, but it became like too much. So I just like left. So I don't know what the state of it is. It's kind of a cool feature, but again, I think it's lowest on the list here because it's sort of a novelty thing. If we have time to do it and we get it at the end of the month, we can get it, but I'm not too upset if we don't. The two requirements for version 2 that I think are the most critical are just having two-sided markets supported, which is what I did yesterday and last week. It's got two-sided markets working. And then the redistribution of fees to support referrals system. Those are like the two critical things going into version 2, besides this like refactoring to the structure of the code. And yeah, I mean, I think the two-sided markets is just about done, ready to be. I tested it. It just needs to make sure everything's being accounted, all the funds are being accounted for correctly. And then the IDA distributed fees, I think, will be not much of a problem either. So yeah, that's sort of where that stands. It's just sort of the top of the stack of what's on there. And I don't know, the assignments, I just kind of like put some people on it. And Via, I forget, sorry to pronounce your name wrong, but Via, I couldn't add you to some of the other issues, though I know that you're helping out with all of the testing and debugging tasks as well. So I know that you've been helping out with that too, but I don't know why I couldn't add you there. So don't think that I don't know that you're helping out with that either. So
okay, it's just
yeah.
pronounced Webbo. Just clarifying.
How do you say it one more time?
Webbo. Webbo.
Full.
Okay, close enough.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, that's that. So
Cool.
That's all I have to say there.
All right. Lastly, on to the numbers. Let's see how we did over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right. So I was glad that we did not renew subsidies. I made it so that we weren't going to do it because the voting power got a 96% decrease, which means only about 4% of the volume that we had like 2 weeks ago was legitimate. I don't quite understand what people were really doing, pumping the volume through those other markets, because anyone who acquired their RIC from those markets was paying about $3 to $4 for the RIC based on my calculation with fees. So like, I don't know if that was really the smartest thing for people to be doing, which was like, if you're like streaming through back and forth, because you basically were paying double, at times maybe triple what the RIC costs. I don't know if maybe I did the math wrong on that, but I did the math like several times and was always getting the same answer. So I don't know, maybe someone has a spreadsheet. It's on a per month basis, we're still doing like almost $70,000 in volume. On an annualized basis, we're pretty close to $1 million in volume. And that's about, if you calculate the fees out, it's about 16,000 in revenue. So I still think this is really great. I mean, you go from eight months from no volume to almost 1 million in annual volume, and show me another business that does that. So probably can't. And the price of the token is the price of the token that pulls off of Sushi Swap, so it moves around. The other things to note is there's still green here, right? Even though that we cut this off, we still have some green in the treasury balance. People, despite not having the annual revenue from fees, we are still pulling in about $50,000 a month selling the RIC token on the launchpad. So it's not like there's no more money coming in. So the treasury balance is still going to grow. The treasury balance today is about 122. That must not be right. I must not have added that right up because there's more. I think that was the balance. Was that the balance last week? Anyway, it should be more than that because there's about 35. I don't know if that's right. So nonetheless, there's the 110 in the bank is correct. But I was pretty sure there was about 30 or 50,000 in the other thing. I don't know. Do I still have my Excel open? Yeah, no, that should be 174,000. I think maybe the 122 is last week's number, but the treasury balance is actually 174,000 because there's about 110,000 on loan from the bank. And then there is the difference there, about 60,000 is in miscellaneous tokens and liquidity pool. So we have about $25,000 in the Maker DAI liquidity pool. We have close to $5,000 of ETH and $5,000 of DAI, $4,000 of wrapped Bitcoin, $10,000 of Matic, and some idle and some Maker. So there's a good amount. There's a good amount in the treasury. That should be 174, not 122. So it's up. So about 40% from where we were last time. And I just want to highlight here, like, you know, the bank might seem like out of nowhere, but I didn't do that because I didn't think it was going to work. You can compare the annualized revenue that we make from the bank is actually very close to the annualized revenue we're making from streaming, right? So it's 13. The bank makes about 13,000 a year. Just from interest. That doesn't include the origination fees. So just from interest, it makes about 13,000 a year. And our stream exchange makes 16,000 a year. So, you know, from a product perspective, both of those products are actually producing very close to the same real volume. You know, the bank has no subsidy. So people borrowing on the bank, they're paying these fees because it's adding value to them, or they're just being irrational and doing something. But nonetheless, like the banking, having a banking product within the community, using our token as a collateral within a community bank, I hope people understand that there's a lot of value in doing that now that you're sort of seeing the numbers side by side against some of the other stuff we're doing. So, so yeah, and then of course in the treasury we have, you know, still over 80% of the supply. We're still working on distributing stuff out. Yeah. The previous total value streaming was 2 million, I think, 2 point something million per month. And yeah, so two something million per month was the previous value. And I think our peak stream, annualized peak streaming was, I think, like 36,000 or 36 million was the peak amount being streamed through the protocol. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have for that.
Cool. Right. Well, that wraps up community call number 11. We can open up the floor to questions now. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna be pulling up that form for people who submitted questions.
No questions? We must have done a really good job today if there's no questions.
I think we did. We do have 2 questions in the Q&A form. So the first one is, any updates on the roadmap for 2022? We did go over Ricochet V2, so I think that covers bases there.
Well, what do people want to see? Like, first of all, like the roadmap thing I get, like, but like, what is that? What do people want there? You know, do you want us to just put stuff on a chart with dates? Because I don't necessarily think that like the roadmap exercise at this point would be very valuable considering how quickly things move and shift. And I mean, if you want to waste, you know, who does it too is another question. Like, who would make a roadmap? I'm not going to waste my time doing that because I have work to do. But if somebody else in the community would like to step up and try to do a roadmap, that's fine. Just understand that, like, you know, there's who knows what's going to be happening in 3 months or a month or whatever. So I don't necessarily think the roadmap is nearly as valuable as just sort of having, like, you know, good material about what our existing products are. You know, like, where do they go? I don't know, because we really need more people to use them and tell us like what they like. So, you know, can't really do, personally, I don't think there's any value in doing a roadmap at this point. I understand why people would want that because it's on that checklist of like gem hunters. Oh, let's look at the roadmap, see what they're doing, and they should have a plan. But I'm probably not going to do something like that. You know,
Yeah.
Roadmap. Better yet, maybe someone else will do it. I'm not sure.
There was a roadmap in the, I think
We
there
do have
still
the
is a
product
roadmap.
catalog.
There was like an attempt at a roadmap that I put together like last year in the docs, but the goals and the things that we
Yeah,
did, like,
but it was
it just
still
like
really
smashed all like the kinds of goals that we set forward in that roadmap. So I feel like, you know, one thing is like forecasting the pace of work, which is like really difficult in kind of like a situation like our DAO where we're like adding contributors, and, you know, setting those kinds of milestones is just really difficult and not a good use of your time. So
Yeah, I mean, after version 2, I don't think there's that much to actually like do. Like, it's really just a matter of like trying to get some adoption. So like, yeah, maybe the roadmap is like try to get adoption.
yeah, I'm sure that there'll be a ton more partnerships and new markets after V2. So
Yeah.
all right. Next question from George. A few of us are trying to come up with ideas on how to turn Launchpad product from a push to a pull product. We could form a task force for that and get ideas to work on defined, or is it not a priority in your opinion? For marketing, demo/PR, we can't just raise money and buy a darn punk or ape and offer that fractionalized on the Launchpad. Thanks, George. So
I didn't
to
hear,
address
we
the
didn't hear
first
like the
part, I
first
think
part.
the
We didn't hear the
Launchpad,
first part.
yeah, so the first part, like the Launchpad is that's what most Launchpads, you know, it requires a good amount of like you know, outreach and, you know, going up to products, asking, hey, do you want to try to launch your token here? And over the last couple of weeks, months, you know, we've been really focused on development, and I've been focused on media development. And so that hasn't really been kind of our focus, you know, on the core team kind of side of things. So, you know, I think the proposal of putting together a task force that, like, you know, people who are enthusiastic about the Launchpad can go forward and make connections on their own. I think that's kind of a valuable suggestion. As for marketing, buying a punk or an ape, I don't know how that'll work. That's quite an undertaking, but you're thinking about brainstorming. Mike, what are your thoughts? I froze.
Yeah, son, you're still
Did you get
breaking
any of
up a
that?
lot. And I don't know, maybe I was looking at something else anyway. So I saw there were some questions in here. What do we do if the treasury enters a bear market? I mean, you just sell everything for cash. You should probably be selling everything for cash anyway. We should run a stable business. How has the mission changed from the project or not changed? Well, Joel, I have something to talk to you about because I went to the docs to read the mission statement, which used to be like right at the top, but it's gone. Did you get rid of it?
It's gone?
Because it was important. Like, you see it. Yeah, it's gone. I used to have the mission there, which was about building streaming products.
Ricochet is focused on producing novel tools that allow people to invest their crypto assets in real time using Superfluid's finance framework.
But that's not what that wasn't the mission that I wrote. I wrote 2 bullet points. There were 2 things. Anyway, I'm gonna go back and I'll find it. But no, the mission hasn't really changed. It is what's on there. But yes, we do. The mission statement is the same. The mission statement is about building real-time finance. The alpha that we deliver is the reduction of the time between when you get your money and the money is invested. And that's the critical piece. Nobody else delivers that alpha, right? So we could deliver it to you And that's sort of the mission, right? Now, obviously, we can't really deliver it to you unless you're getting your income stream to you. So that's the other part of the mission, which is we just have to further advance the adoption of, you know, streaming payments and things like that. So looks like we have another question. V2 is planned to launch on January 31st. I mean, it's going to launch when it's ready and safe. Like, I think we're ready to do it at the end of this month. We have most of it done, and I feel comfortable. We could probably launch markets this week. We could probably do the one-way market. There's not much that's changed about that one-way market other than it uses the new framework. But yeah, so on January 31st, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like it's coming out then. You know, like I don't know if that's people's expectation that I'm going to say like we're going to launch on this date. I mean, at a certain point we will know, but like, I don't know, maybe January 31st. I mean, is that even what day of the week is that, right? Because I would probably want to do it on like a Monday, Tuesday, not on like a Thursday or Friday, ruin my weekend if it doesn't go well. But yeah, I mean, by the end of the month, the contracts are ready. And then at that point, we just need to figure out how to gracefully and safely deploy them. So is there a strong pipeline of DAOs and other partners? No, there's no pipeline or anything like that. I think there are just informal conversations and like ideas. So I don't think we have anything like that. Do we have a pipeline, a strong pipeline? I like the suffix, a strong pipeline versus just a regular pipeline. So I would like
He's talking about like a
pipeline.
pipeline as in like a formal kind of like process in which like there's a queue of like partners or something that are interested in doing some kind of salary streaming. I think, well, first off,
Like
the salary streaming side, that's kind of super fluid. They're like really interested in, you know, getting new businesses to start streaming their oh my, all right, I'll try again. So on Superfluid side, they're trying to, you know, get more businesses to use salary streaming because that kind of expands their ecosystem and all the good stuff, the marketing, the promotion, all that. And so we're on the side of like letting people, you know, use their salary streaming to, you know, invest with it in a, you know, efficient, automated fashion and gain alpha. So I think in terms of pipeline of like people for salary streaming, that doesn't exist. And also like a kind of formalized kind of pipeline of like DAOs that are trying to like come in and use Ricochet for, you know, whatever kind of treasury management, all that kind of stuff. That doesn't exist either. It's like Mike said, like a lot of kind of DAOs are, you know, kind of in conversations with us about, you know, potentially like, you know,
it's not just DAOs. Like I have conversations with legitimate businesses, like the people at Consensus who are like, oh, we heard Superfluid and we found this and we were like, how can we get these things? So it's not just DAOs, like real businesses are having these conversations too. Do we have like a list or a pipeline? No. Do I just follow up with the dude from Consensus on LinkedIn, like maybe every other week? Yes. But like, there's no real formal or strong anything. I mean, it's all very ad hoc because for the most part, like, I think the Ricochet business is mostly just us building stuff at this point and making memes. As far as like, you know, going and onboarding a company of 10 people and showing them how to go through and buy, you know, ETH with their salary or stream invest in something. We don't do anything like that today, though. That is going to be a necessary thing. And that's again why I was like, where did my mission statement go? Well, because the second part of the mission statement is that exactly, which is we get more volume when more people are doing streaming salaries. The simple fact is streaming salaries is the best to get. The stream traders, that's an interesting business. The streaming salary money, that's, you know, going to be sticking around forever. Those people are going to keep working. They're going to keep streaming into the investments. So it's a very good opportunity. Yeah, I don't know. We could probably do more of that. But at the same time, I think that if people, it's just like a resource allocation thing. Like right now, most of our resources are just like, well, we want to build this version 2. We want to add more investment products. And like, even if we had someone that came to us saying like, yeah, we want to help you do this. Like who is it that we delegate to do that? Like who has the time or the energy becomes a question. So yeah.
We have done that once before with MakerDAO. We got on their core unit team call and we talked about, using Ricochet to stream invest with their DAI salaries. So that has happened before. I'm sure, you know, if we kind of turn on that kind of initiative, it would be something
Yeah.
that, you know,
We were
the
invited, yeah,
willingness-
because they did Superfluid, and then Superfluid mentioned that we were there and we came in the next week, the next month or something like that.
Mhm.
So it's the product. It's like a perfect fit. Like people find out about Superfluid and the streaming, and then obviously their first thoughts are like applications and dollar cost averaging. Yeah. So what else?
Any other questions?
There was something about the launch pad earlier. I think it was George talking about or something.
Oh yeah, I started talking about that, but then I just got
You were
too
breaking
cut
up a
off.
lot.
I got too
My,
broken
my
up.
my general thoughts on the launch pad and stuff is that like that's essentially like a premium product offering. You know, there's a lot of advantages to a product like that. I don't necessarily know if like paying people RIC tokens to use it is a good precedent to set. How do people find out about that offering? I don't really know other than going out and telling them. But in my mind, it doesn't actually really matter if people use it or not, because we're using it so successfully. And eventually people will see that and it will attract. Now, I know that sounds like, I'm like, yeah, my things that I build are so good that people should just adopt them. But that's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we built something, and here, look how successfully we're doing it. We're making $50,000 a month to fund our business very early on, only selling a very small part of the token supply, very, very small part. And there's no minor extractable value or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, it's really the kind of a product or service that I think a team really has to seek out and want to use. Like if we just go around trying to find teams that are doing it and try to push it on them, I don't think that's a good use of our time. I think our time would be better spent just improving some of the other products we have, like making more markets. So, and then yeah, tackling other challenges in real-time finance rather than going out and, you know, doing it. So, and yeah, I mean, people just, you know, if someone wants to go through, and I think we have some of this meta, which is like, here are all the good things about the Launchpad, and then people want to spread that out there to try to raise awareness, that's good. I just don't think that we should like pay people to use the product. Like, I get it. Like, sure, we can incentivize your Launchpad with your thing and we can put some RIC, but like, I think that if you want to do that, you should give us you should buy the RIC. You shouldn't just like be giving it away for free. So anyway, I don't know who uses the Launchpad, but it doesn't really matter because we're using it so successfully and it's working great. So whether term, not really something I really worry about.
Yeah, echoing what Mike was saying, the Launchpad is a very BD intensive. Like it would require a lot of outreach to get, you know, new products on there if we were to try to push it out there. So I do kind of like the task force idea George mentioned, because, you know, George is like the most enthusiastic about the Launchpad, and I think if he wants to get together some people to find projects that are willing to launch on the Launchpad, like go ahead and, you know, band together and find some interest. I think it's something worth considering. We can continue that conversation in the Discord. All right.
Yeah. What else? Anything else? Like I said, it sounded a bit arrogant. Maybe it was. It's okay.
Yeah, hey guys. Can I just give a couple of updates about my project DSIP? Is it fine?
Yeah,
or,
go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah. So we just worked on it for almost a couple of weeks now, and we decided to integrate IDA with DHedge. So for people who are unfamiliar with DHedge, it's kind of like mutual funds, or else in your case index funds, or not index funds really. I don't know what it's called in US, but it's called the mutual funds in India, right? Wherein managers, they invest your money in certain stocks and all. So in our case, it will be in certain DeFi protocols. That's basically DH. And so yeah, so it would pretty much work like Ricochet in some sense. It's just that it's not really one-to-one market, it's many-to-one market. So you can stream a lot of tokens, and in return, you just get one token back that is representing a DH pool. So that's the basic thing of what we are doing. So basically what we decided this week to do is, first of all, I would complete all the smart contracts and then move on to testing. So that testing, I believe it can also be used for the Rex market and all those contracts. So that's why I thought, okay, fine, let me do this as well as, it will help in that sense. And the second thing that is, we are also building the front end, and we are actually using Moralis. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with Moralis right now. So it's going to, like, it gives us the ability to give notifications to people, other users, and that's a very important aspect in our case, because the manager, that is DH manager, they can choose to remove support for a token. So you cannot really stream those tokens anymore. Then we cannot really close the streams of all the people who are streaming a particular token, right? So the only way that we could think of is that notify those users. So we are pretty interested that we are doing this using Moralis. And yeah, so I don't know if Ricochet has any need for notification system or such. But yeah, that's an interesting thing, Moralis. And basically it's more of like a backend for us. Moralis, basically they provide us a server and all those real-time alerts and all that stuff. That's really helpful. So yeah, for this week, I mean, we will probably have our contracts ready, and by the next week or two, we will probably have a website running. And yeah, that's it. That's my update.
Awesome. Thanks. Anything else?
Will that be something that will show up on like our up as well, or is it going to be kind of like a separate kind of thing? Is it like Ricochet related?
Yeah, so I mean, the website will be separate, right? Because the whole UI is quite different compared to Ricochet. It's very different. So I don't know if maybe we can put up a link or something in the Ricochet website. I don't know how that would work. But the thing is, the goal is the same, right? You are really stream investing. In Ricochet, it's currently traditional DCA, but in our case, it will be more of I don't know, robo advisors type of stuff. So the goal is kind of, I mean, it's probably same. So, but I just don't know how they would both fit into just one website. So we will, of course, have a different website. And yeah, how to advertise that, I don't know. That's not really what I'm concerned with right now.
Great.
Sounds
So
good.
you're going to advertise a competing product.
Maybe. So no, I was really thinking that this should come under Ricochet somehow. Maybe we can use
Yeah.
your governance system. I told you, right?
We should.
That's the thing.
We should make it like Rex Hedge or something and bring it under our umbrella. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
All
they
right,
give
looks
you a
like
bunch of
I think
RIP
Mike's out
tokens.
of time. I think we got to go.
I
Let's
am
wrap
out of
this
time.
up.
I gotta go get some lunch.
All right,
so.
everyone. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you at community call number 12. Appreciate all the ideas out here.
Yeah,
And,
it's
have a
great
good
to see
one.
all the contributors. It's great to see all the contributors here.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
thank you all. I know everyone's in all these different time zones, and it's amazing that we can get so many of us on a call on a Tuesday. So thank you. I hope nobody is up at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And if you are, rock on. Anyway, all right. I'll see you all on
Adios, everyone.
Discord. Talk to you soon. Have a good week.
Thank you.